Hello YouTube, today is a bit of a different episode. With Elder Scrolls 6 on a distant horizon, the quest for lore continues, and people are once again interested in the Elder Scrolls universe and its comprehensive story. And so comes the call to the Elder Scrolls lore YouTubers to explain the story, but with people flocking back to the Elder Scrolls series, people are now discovering that the bigger channels have shifted their content to unoriginal pieces, plagiarized content, and uninspiring stories. Therefore, let me introduce you today to 3 highly motivated small Elder Scrolls lore channels that I myself actually watch, in the biggest Elder Scrolls lore collaboration to date. Each of these channels will tell you about a certain character in the Elder Scrolls universe, in their own unique way. Each of their channels will be linked in the description, so without further ado, I will pass the mic to the first channel, Half-Baked Productions, who will tell us about the first part of the story of Azidal.
What drives a man to do the things he does? Is it passion? Anger? Pursuit of something more? But what if it was all of those? All of those aspects that once were the reason that a man lived, something that he embodied through his life. A man that once began his journey in the pursuit of knowledge, a pure endeavor to say the least. But as he grew, and as the tribulations of time came his way, he lost the pureness of his intent as it began to waver into something darker. The tale is of a man that would grow into the power-hungry monster known as Azidal, the Dragon Priest. But even in his youth, he was stated by most who met him as one of the greatest mystics of his time, learning from each of the races of man and mer, an empowering feat for a mortal, much less an Atmoran. This man, driven by his love for learning, left his home, the Atmoran settlement of Sarthal, his young wife and a child awaiting his return. Tragically, their reunion was not meant to be. In his absence, the Snow Elves, native to the icy lands of the north, laid siege to the settlement, murdering all within the walls. Upon his return, his heart darkened, and hatred and anger consumed him, for the elves had sacked the city, and all that lived there were dead and gone. Amid the ashes and the smoldering ruins of his home, he swore a terrible oath of vengeance. And from that comes the name the legends gave him, Azidal, the embittered destroyer. But he was no mere brute. He bided his time, learning from the very race that slaughtered his family, absorbing all the knowledge they held. And when Ysgramor and the companions returned to exact vengeance from Atmora, he was the first to raise his blade to aid their effort. Now emboldened by the arcane talents of Azidal, the Atmorans exacted their terrible vengeance, and each elf would feel the sting of the enchanted blades that were made through the hatred and knowledge that Azidal had amassed. The elves lay sundered and broken, and only one stood the victor. Having used their magical knowledge, he had defeated them, tearing both their flesh and morale. But he lay hollow now, discontent. Azidal wanted more. The knowledge of men and mer would never be enough to quell his undying hunger for knowledge, and he would once more set forth, his search weighing heavily upon his mind, his soul growing darker and darker with each passing day. The dragon runes would be where his attention would turn. As his quest to amass more of the dragon's knowledge persisted, he would find himself as an integral figure in the dragon cult. He now was revered, a dragon priest, mastered the men that fell beneath his command. Even with the combined power of men, mer, and dove, his greed was not quenched. Rather, like a fellow priest, he would turn his attention to the Daedra, making pacts with them for forbidden knowledge. Maes Mor in particular became a focus for him. Outside his deranged mind, the dragon war raged, and as the cult fell, Azidal lost himself to his pursuit of perfection. Like the others of his order, he was buried away in a crypt, now forgotten to time and history. His feats all but lost, his might all but forgotten. For now.
I really hope you liked that story and that video. And if you did, more is yet to come, as the second part of this story is featured near the end of this video. Now let's go to a YouTuber I personally very much admire, the Big E15. His mic might not be the best, but his grasp of lore is very good. And the dedication to his channel is astounding, with a minimum of 2 lore videos a week. If I miss a week out of laziness, this guy will be there with 2 hard researched videos packed with information for you to enjoy. So let's quickly take a look at his video, shall we?
What's up everyone, it's the Big E15 here. For my segment, today we're going to be talking about Odahviing and Nathalalargus, and basically the idea is that those are 2 dragons that will end up submitting to humans, and I thought that'd be a good idea to cover today, because how often do you see dragons submitting to people? And they're 2 different characters that submit in different ways, but we'll cover that later. So we'll start with Odahviing. Odahviing is the right hand of Alduin after the Dragon War, and potentially during the Dragon War. It's unclear if he is. His name translates to Winged Snow Hunter, or in accordance to his appearance, Snowy Winged Hunter. It is unknown who defeated Odahviing and killed him originally and when, but it was after the Dragon War that we do know. He was buried in the southeast of Skyrim near Riften. He was revived in the Dragon Crisis in 201 of the 4th era to serve as Alduin's right hand once more. Now in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, he is lured into a trap in Whiterun, during which the Dragonborn will capture him, and he will end up bargaining for his freedom. He agrees to take the Dragonborn to Skuldafn, high in the eastern mountains, which is only accessible by flight. He informs the Dragonborn that he may join them if they are able to defeat Alduin. Once Alduin is defeated, he is among the many dragons that come to the throne of the world to acknowledge the Dragonborn's doom. He wishes Paarthurnax good luck with leading the other dragons to follow the way of the voice. It is here that he will also pledge his services to the Dragonborn, and he becomes the Dragonborn's right hand, as he was to Alduin's. He will come to their aid whenever called upon, and he can often be seen flying around the throne of the world when he is not called upon by the Dragonborn. When summoned, he will not harm any followers or Civil War faction allies, and they won't harm him back, all except for Shadowmere, who will attack, or vice versa. Odahviing will also attack Shadowmere. It's really weird, don't know why. I guess he has something wrong with horses, or maybe undead horses. Maybe tricky. Once all the enemies are killed, he will circle overhead and roar farewell, and then fly away. Now, curious thing to me that I find very interesting is that Odahviing expresses dissent towards Paarthurnax, if he's alive after killing Alduin, claiming that Paarthurnax will rule with tyranny, even though it is a different way of rule, because Paarthurnax is the way of the voice. He still rules it as tyranny, and that I find very interesting. And maybe Paarthurnax isn't such a good guy. Maybe he's trying to lead everyone into this way of the voice to control them. We don't know, but most of all, I think most of us keep Paarthurnax alive because we all liked Paarthurnax, so if Paarthurnax is killed before Alduin is dead, he will speak of his delight and freedom from others, and he is happy to serve the Dragonborn. Nevertheless, he is happy to serve the Dragonborn either way in either scenario. He will just express it and actually state so in this scenario. Next, we have Nathalalargus, and he is a red dragon who swore his loyalty to Tiber Septim during the Second Era. It's not known what specific year he did so, and he claims to be the, quote, proud jewel of the Imperial crown, end quote. Unlike his dragon peers, he was not as noble or as intelligent as the rest of his species, and it's also hinted that his greed was his downfall. We'll get to that later. Once the pact between the forebears of Hammerfell and the Empire was made, Lord Emil Reichten, which was Tiber Septim's greatest commander, was sent to capture the crown headquarters at Stros Mackay. Reichten tasked Nathalalargus to destroy the powerful crown navy that defended Prince Atur. When Prince Atur was killed by a poison arrow, Nathalalargus destroyed his ship with one fiery breath. The loss of their leader and base led to the Crown defeat and eventual ceding of Hammerfell to the Empire. When Reichton became provincial governor of Stros Mackay, he tasked Nafalargus to guard the soul gem of Prince Atur. In 864 of the Second Era, Cyrus, a Redguard pirate, would infiltrate the palace at Stros Mackay through the catacombs and to acquire the soul gem of Prince Atur. He is confronted by Nafalargus, and the two will exchange a small banter, but it will eventually lead to a battle. Now, it's after a long and difficult battle, Nafalargus would be killed, and Imperial control over the entire province would be severely weakened. Since Cyrus was not a Dragonborn, it is assumed that maybe Nafalargus is not truly dead, and it is unknown if he was resurrected by Alduin during the Dragon Crisis in 201 of the Fourth Era. However, we don't know where he was buried, so it's probably assumed that he was not resurrected by Alduin, considering that he was most likely buried in Hammerfell, and the events of the Dragon Crisis happened in Skyrim. Now, Nafalargus' chambers were filled with piles of gold, which were given to him as payment from Tiber Septim. Why a dragon needed gold is unknown to me, but I assume it's due to his greediness. And the fight that occurred between him and Cyrus happens in his chambers, so I can only assume, as I never played Elder Scrolls Redguard, and that's when this happens, I can only assume that maybe Nafalargus was too focused on protecting his gold rather than actually fighting Cyrus, because I would assume that if it's a dragon versus one person, the dragon should win. And assuming that this character was not Dragonborn, I feel like that a dragon should have no problem taking out one person, especially just one person. Now, interestingly enough, though, in a cut dialogue option, the Dragonborn in Skyrim can ask the bard Sven if they knew any old ballads of dragons, and he will respond with, quote, "There's the old one about Tiber Septim and the dragon Nafalargus. I never bothered to learn it. The blades killed them all centuries ago. Nobody asks to hear that lay anymore." End quote. And I find that very interesting because that's just a small reference back down to this, and you get to learn a little bit more about something that maybe not a lot of people knew about. I knew a little bit about Nafalargus. I never researched him that much, but finding out that he was actually a dragon that served Tiber Septim, it was very fascinating. And I think that is something that they should have, I don't know why they cut it. There's no specific reason why they cut it. Maybe it's just something they didn't have time to implicate into the actual full game, but it was a cut dialogue option nevertheless. That's it for my part, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my little segment of this big video. Special thanks to Imperial Knowledge for bringing us all together, bringing this whole idea together, and helping us collaborate together. It's been amazing. Everyone in this video is amazing. I've gotten to talk to them all a lot, and they're super cool. I really hope you guys enjoy them as much as you enjoy me or anyone else here, because this is great group of people we have here. And I hope you guys enjoyed my part and the rest of the video, or in the past segments as well. And I hope to see you guys on my channel or anywhere else in the comments, Discord, or wherever. It's been awesome. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video, and I will see you all, myself will see you all later. Peace.
Being a fan of the first dragon we ever saw in the Elder Scrolls universe, Nafalargus, I very much enjoyed this video, and I hope you did too. If you did, give the Big E15 a subscribe. Remember, he's there 2 times a week on set dates with Elder Scrolls lore. His dedication is truly something to admire. So my next guest is someone I only found very recently, the small YouTuber Kukai. But the moment I found him, I instantly fell in love with his content. He tells the story of the lore in combination with in-game dialogue, a format I myself wanted to do, but never really got around doing. Regardless of that, his videos are amazing, and he displays every one of his sources live in the video. This makes for a quite amazing watch, so let's immediately delve into his video.
Phalion, a man shrouded in an aura of silence and mystery. Living in the small town of Morthal, he is the one and only person in Skyrim who we can go to in search of a cure for vampirism. When entering into any tavern and speaking with the innkeep, we are able to ask about current rumors. One of the many things the innkeeper may say is this.
They say Phalion of Morthal has studied vampires, Draugr, and all matter of undead.
This is our first introduction to Phalion, and with it, it is made evident that Phalion is not quite an ordinary man. For in the lands of Skyrim, the subject of blurring the lines of life and death is one overwhelmingly looked upon with disrespect. That branch of magic is one typically reserved only for necromancers and those who seek to do no good. This is likely one of the many reasons the people of Skyrim distrust him, and it makes sense that they are skeptical of his realm of study. When we finally make our way to the city of Morthal, we quickly realize that this town is not exactly bustling with the busiest of feet. We can neither hear smiths hammering metal against metal, nor chatting townsfolk in the streets, for Morthal is a dreadful place, surrounded by swamp and wilderness. A dangerous town for anyone who might go beyond its borders, and out of the watchful sight of the guards. Isolated and quiet, it is understandable that not many families choose to live here, and for those who have, making a living is a day-by-day task. Walking into the city, we spot a group of people complaining about a suspicious new wizard in town.
What's the Jarl going to do about it?
How are we supposed to feel safe in our own homes?
Please, enough already. I have told Ygritte of your concerns. She'll look after you all. Please, go about your business.
We've no need for wizards in our midst.
Morthal has enough problems as it is.
It's no use. Let's get back to it then.
With this, we learn that Phalion is a new resident within Morthal. When we make our way to his home, one of the first things we notice upon entering is that he is caring for a young girl. A stunning fact considering the perilous and remote nature of this town. Her name is Agni, and here is one of the first things she says when speaking to us.
My mother and father died years ago. Phalion takes care of me now.
After learning this, it becomes obvious that maybe Phalion is not indeed so bad as the locals claim, as sacrificing the time and energy required to care for and raise a child is no easy task. Choosing to adopt and secure the future of this girl who lost her family, Phalion has shown that perhaps he does deserve some amount of respect. However, the first time we speak with him, Phalion lashes out in a burst of emotion.
If you stand before me to accuse me of sacrificing children or eating the hearts of the dead, you may save your breath! I have done no such thing, nor do I intend to. I simply wish to live my life in peace.
Why would anyone accuse you of that?
The people of Morthal would much rather weave their own horrid tales about my life than simply ask me for the truth. If they choose to fear me in their ignorance, that's their choice, but it will not change what is true.
Alternatively, we can ask him about what he actually does in this city.
I keep to myself. I offer spells and scrolls to those who need them, and wisdom in conjuration magic for those who wish to learn. Beyond that, I seek only to be left alone to pursue my research.
This is the story Phalion gives us, and it's one which I'm not entirely convinced of. Mages and wizards rarely seek solace in small towns and villages, but often rather prefer comfort surrounded by the walls of castles and the libraries of knowledge within large cities. Most often, when we see lonesome mages, they are typically outlaws or members of bandit circles. And yet, Phalion defies this concept at every turn, moving to Morthal apparently in search of a quiet life, gaining wisdom through solitude, and knowledge through isolation. Assuming Phalion speaks the truth, why would he ever want to move to such a hazardous place while accompanied by a little girl? There are many other areas to raise a child, just as secluded as Morthal, as well as much safer. We can learn a little bit more about his decision to move here by speaking to Phalion's sister, Yona, who works as the local innkeeper at the tavern in town.
Running an inn weren't my plan, but Phalion decided to move here, so I joined him.
Although not a particularly useful bit of information, it does clarify that Phalion's wish to move to Morthal was a predetermined one, and that he didn't simply settle at the first opportune town. It may also mean that something about Morthal might have drawn Phalion specifically to this place. Interestingly, if we spend enough time around Phalion and Agni, we may occasionally witness 4 unique conversations between the two, 3 of which I found noteworthy.
I had a bad dream again last night.
Oh?
I dreamt that you went away. You made monsters.
It's just a dream, child, nothing more.
It was scary. It was like it was real.
Hush now. Think no more of it.
When I grow up, will I go to the college in Winterhold?
No, I don't think that will be necessary.
But I'm learning about magic, and that's what they do there. Shouldn't I go?
The college is not the only place to learn about magic.
But you went there, didn't you? Isn't that where you learned?
I was there only for a short time. Much of what I have learned has been on my own, and I will teach you. You have no reason to go there.
But...
That's enough. Have you been working on your concentration?
Yes, sir. I have.
Good, good. Concentration is paramount when dealing with magical forces.
Why?
Because an unfocused mind will almost certainly be obliterated, destroyed by the forces you attempt to control and yield.
Oh.
Have no fear. I believe it is within you to excel in your studies, but you must learn to concentrate.
Yes, sir.
Those last 2 specifically, I found most intriguing, as we learned that not only did Phalion once study at the College of Winterhold, but that he is now also tutoring Agni in the art of magic. Agni struggles with magic, however, and in spite of that, Phalion has decided to teach her himself, rather than sending her to the college. For whatever reasons he has chosen to do it this way, or if he looks down upon the college, I am not certain. Perhaps the strangest thing about Phalion is that every night, 1 hour after midnight, he leaves his home and walks to a location not far from town, known as the Summoning Stones. After arriving, Phalion stands here for a few hours, seemingly contemplating something. If we decide to sneak up on him and demand to know what he's doing here, Phalion responds fiercely.
What I am doing is none of your business. Why are you here? Did you follow me? I demand that you leave at once and never speak of this again.
Why should I keep this a secret?
It is none of your concern, I assure you. Just forget that you ever saw me here.
If you want me to keep quiet, it's going to cost you.
Is that so? I should have expected as much. Fine, I shall give you 200 gold, and you shall leave me in peace. Now go. Leave me to my work.
Or we can decide to respect his wishes and keep this event secret.
Thank you. I will not forget this.
This is the option I personally went with, as I believe Phalion may have important duties to perform here that we are unaware of. I think this because, as I mentioned earlier, Phalion is the only character in the game that can cure the player of vampirism, and in our conversation about it, we can discover some very interesting facts about him.
I know many things. I have studied things beyond the reach of most humans, traveled the Oblivion Plains, seen things one should not see. I have met Daedra and Dwemer, and everything in between, and I know enough to see a vampire where others would see a man.
How can you be so sure I'm a vampire?
I met several of your kind during my studies of life-extending magics. I even considered becoming a vampire myself. In the end, vampirism would endanger my ward Agni, which would defeat the intended purpose.
I'm looking for a cure.
It is possible. I know of a ritual, but have never performed it. It requires a filled black soul gem. You will need to kill someone. When you have a gem and have filled it, return to me and I will perform the ritual. I will bring life to your dead body, vampire.
The information Phalion just shared has been the root of countless theory after theory. He revealed that he has met Daedra and Dwemer. Although unusual and extremely rare, it is not unheard of for men and Mer to interact with the Daedric beings of the Oblivion realms. What strikes most as impossible, however, is that Phalion claimed he has met Dwemer, but that can't be, as the Dwemer disappeared thousands of years ago. And although elves have been known to live for hundreds of years, Phalion is not an elf. He is a Redguard, a race of men. Although one of the Dwemer, Yagrum Bagarn, was present during the events of Morrowind, that was over 200 years before Skyrim. Phalion also implied that he has never been a vampire, so he likely has not lived long enough to have been around all those thousands of years ago, before the Dwemer disappeared. This has turned out to be one of the most popular mysteries discovered within Skyrim, and one which fans will no doubt keep thinking about for years to come. Even after giving the Black Soul Gem to Phalion as part of the quest to cure our vampirism, we do not learn much more about him. He meets the player back at the Summoning Stones, and performs a ritual, although no new information is gained. Maybe Phalion truly is up to something sinister, as the locals would have us believe. Or maybe he really is just a normal man, who adopted a young girl, and now wants a peaceful life, to teach her in the arts of magic, so that maybe one day she can grow up to help the people of Tamriel, in honor of her father. Thank you very much, HP Productions, the Big E15, and Imperial Knowledge especially, for being the host of this collaboration. My name's Ku, and I'll see you next time.
I personally always wondered about Phalion and who he was. I even wanted to make a video on him, but I'm glad I did not, because I couldn't have done it in a better way myself. Check out Kukai's channel via the link in the description. He has some amazing pieces waiting for you there just to check out. So with that said, here's the follow-up of the Azadal video of Half-Baked Productions. Let's give it a watch.
In the 201st year of the Fourth Era, a Dunmer, named Rel Sidaris, went in search of an ancient tomb known as Colburn Barrow. He was told that it held the ancient and rather valuable artifacts of a powerful dragon priest named Azadal, something that made the sly Dunmer very happy. But he had not a septum to his name. That was until a special someone showed up to the dig site. He regaled the traveler with his tale of woes, and offered them a piece of the prize, if only they were able to fund his endeavor. Something that the zealous traveler took delight, and quite a bit of pain in, hoping that maybe this would all pay off. With this, the Dunmer began his operation, finding willing miners in the nearby town of Ravenrock. The one thing he didn't tell was about the danger that lay before them. As expected, the miners ran into the Draugr that Raus had known of, with all of them being killed off by the undead foes. As such, he hailed the traveler once more, explaining how the entire mining force had been killed in an accident that, in all honesty, was preventable, seeing as the two partners had not a worker to clean out the Draugr-infested crypt. The traveler was tasked with their removal, a job that he did with hesitation, finding a boon at the end of his arduous battle. Once the undead were cleared from the crypt, the traveler returned to Rallis, where the financial woes of the operation were explained once more, and as a result, septums needed to cover the payment, of which the traveler agreed to for the second time. And so, the traveler went on his way, returning time after time as the mining went awry, and each time being worse than the last. That was until the final letter came from Alice. In it were only a few words. Words that not only were unsettling, but upon reaching Colbjorn Barrow, utterly distressing. All the workers were killed, even the mercenaries, but not by the Draugr, no. They were killed by none other than their foreman himself, Rallis Sidaris. Upon further investigation, it would be found by the traveler that Rallis had been slowly slipping into insanity, guided by the words of the master of the crypt, none other than the dragon priest, Azadal. With this shocking revelation that the priest had coerced the foreman into resurrecting him, the traveler pooled with determination and entered the crypt to end this once and for all. Upon his entry, all he saw was blood, and the horrific growling of the undead Draugr. But all throughout, the traveler fought, finally arriving in the antechamber. To his horror, Rallis had succeeded, and so rose the deranged dragon priest Azadal, summoning all of his underling Draugr to fight the traveler to his death. Throughout this battle, the priest used all of his power to stop the threat that the traveler posed. But it was not meant to be. For the priest fell, and so did his memory, forgotten to the ages, as he too had forgotten, ending the tale of Azadal, the Destroyer, once and for all. As to what happened to the treacherous Rallis, none may ever know. Some say he escaped at the mercy of the traveler, while others say he was slaughtered on the spot for what he had done. But that is a story for another time.
I never knew that this character was this interesting, and this video gave a very good overview of him. For more of these amazingly edited videos and filmed lore videos, go to Half-Baked Productions channel, their link is also in the description. These guys make everything, from lore to theories, but also lorebook videos. Those are my personal favorites. They then just narrate a lorebook for you, a bit like an audiobook, and provide amazing looking Skyrim footage in the background as a video alongside it. A great watch if you don't like to read or just enjoy quality content of lore. But with that said, we have reached the end of this very comprehensive video. I really hope you like it. If you did, subscribe to the channels I featured here, like the video, subscribe. If you want personal contact with me, there is my Discord and Instagram in the description. If you want to support me in a more personal way, there's of course my Patreon. And now let's quickly go to the outro that Half-Baked Productions made especially for me. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm a god. How can you kill a god? Welcome, Moon and Star. Welcome, Moon and Star. Welcome, Moon and Star. Leave me. Welcome, Moon and Star, to this place where destiny is made. Leave me. What a fool you are.